Let's go over to Epic versus Apple, and technically Google as well. Though the big fuss was Epic and Apple. This was. Did Epic just wake up one day? They obviously planned all of this out because they dropped everything all in one day.
Yep.
And so basically, right away they said, "Oh, we're going to bypass Apple's own payment processing with our own. We're going to make it cheaper so people wouldn't want to use Apple's anyway. You pay us directly, and we bypass the Apple iOS stores like fee of 30%." And immediately, as soon as that happened, it seemed maybe an hour later, they pulled Fortnite off, and then lawsuits were filed. And they posted this really weird like parody thing for 1984 that Apple had pushed way back when as their marketing strategy.
Ridley Scott's commercial, right? Was that I remember that from back in the day.
Yeah, it was the Super Bowl 1984 when it aired, and people were like, what? And then Apple got in trouble because they hired actual skinheads to play the bald people in the video.
So that's where we are now. And it was also pulled from Google Play Store as well because they did the same thing to Google. I don't know if they've done that to the console manufacturers yet, though. I
don't think so. But I don't think they have done.
If they do it, they're going to get pulled from there too. So this is a weird situation because it seems like Epic has like dug their heels in now, and there was some of the papers that were filed were kind of interesting because there is one mention that they tried to make a deal with OnePlus. Did you guys see this? They tried to make a deal with OnePlus so that the Epic launcher would be installed already on the OnePlus, and that runs Android. And according to the papers, Google blocked it.
Yeah, Google blocks any sort of a third-party store unless you, you have to make a deal with them. You have to like include the Google apps, and the Google apps. If you have the Google apps, you can't have a third-party store or whatever. I think Samsung gets a special deal there. So yeah, all these companies are monopolies. Like, there's no doubt there. Like, and they're taking advantage of their monopolies. So Epic has a point. It's just, man, the way they go about stuff is so embarrassing and insulting. I think they're gonna get gamers to rise up, and it's just like, homie, we're dealing with COVID and job losses. We don't want to help you fight this thing. We just don't care that much.
You think they talked to Tencent a little before making this decision, or?
No, I don't see that's like my thing with this whole
Tim Sweeney. Tim Sweeney doesn't care what Tencent says. Tim Sweeney's just gonna do what he wants.
Yeah, like, I don't give a damn about Apple. I don't give a damn about Epic. They're billion and trillion dollar companies. They don't give a shit about the consumer. This whole thing is about profits. The conversation that Epic is basically forcing on the industry right now, using Apple and Google as their guinea pigs, is that you're a platform holder and you're charging us 30% to allow us to sell our game. And that's a conversation that's worth having for developers. 30% is a very high price. And it's an industry standard across, even for Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo. And that should come down. I think that is a good conversation for the companies to actually have to sit down and say 30% is, ridiculous. It should come to a lower percentage. But I'm not necessarily saying that Epic's way of doing it was the correct way, but they're forcing the conversation to take place.
Like, okay, I'm gonna ignore like the morality of it. It just should come down because it like keeps smaller developers out. Like, let's just look at it from like a market perspective. We can look at PC and see how it played out when Epic tried to go on an open platform and do their own store and charge less, and everyone's still using Steam, and everyone still goes through Steam, and Steam is entrenched. And it turns out that's probably because 30% is actually the market value of what they provide. It might even be more. If you look at the way people used to have to sell games before Steam, or even like before like stores like really got entrenched on any of these platforms, doing your own customer service, doing your own payment processing, dealing with people who had complaints and want to do returns, all those things are really time intensive and really expensive. If you talk to an old time developer that lived in that world and sold games that way, they usually say, wow, 30% to do all that stuff for us, that's worth it. And they know it's worth it, so they're going to keep charging 30%. And when we look and see, like, Steam has not budged on that, even though they have this supposed pressure from Epic now, and Epic's spending tons and tons of money to try to force them to compete. So yeah, like if you're just talking about from like the market value, I think it might be worth 30%. Now that doesn't mean that it shouldn't come down. I think there are still arguments for why it could, and maybe it shouldn't be applied across the board to every single developer in the same way. I think that's where you're going to get a lot of people saying, "Come on, just give smaller developers a break." But also, like, that's like, okay, so we get more video games, and no one's really feeling like we need more video games, right? Like, there's kind of a lot of video games already. So it's like, again, that's a hard argument. to make. I
You'd
feel
be
like so.
surprised.
I mean, it can help. It would help the smaller developer, like the indie developer, of we're charging $15 for our game, and by default we'll use Apple and Google because they're the only companies in the situation right now. They're by default taking $5. I mean, that's a fairly substantial amount of money when I'm charging $15 for a game. Now it's down to 10, and yes, we're going to make money on it. But if you lower that to let's say 15%. It helps those developers. It can help them grow. It's going to help their passion where they can make more of these products. They have a better livelihood. It doesn't help the consumer at the end of the day, but it does help all the people who are employed by this industry where you have these, mega corporations who are saying, well, we're taking this 30%. And all we're really doing is, we're playing host. And Apple still has full control. They're blocking Microsoft for putting
xCloud,
on their service. And if they put it on there, they're going to want 30% of, if you buy a game. I think the conversation will eventually shift with Epic and these companies of saying, we want a lower percentage. We want you guys to come down. And it is a conversation that is worth having for the industry. Now, it could only come down to 25%, but it is something the industry has to address. Epic just went with a very extreme take on it. And again, I don't give a damn about Apple or Epic. They have more than enough money, and they're just looking to secure more money for themselves. It's not like they're helping us in any way. We're just going to trickle down, and we're going to, get discounts on these games. It's all about
for a while, but it wouldn't last.
Getting discount on V-Bucks. Don't you
Yeah,
have
right.
V-Buck payments? V-Bucks.
So I mean, that's really the thing. They're worried about their bottom line. They're going to fight the war. They do it. We see videos of YouTubers destroying their iPads because they're free Fortnite. Relax there, killer. Epic doesn't give a shit about you.
So wait, hold on. What happens then? Who budges here?
They're going to go to court, and they'll probably end up settling not to make a giant spectacle out of it.
Yeah.
Good for everybody.
And it'll be very interesting. They don't want to go to court because no one wants to go through discovery. Epic doesn't want to go into discovery. Epic doesn't want to actually deal with their emails being involved in the stuff. So they'll settle, and it'll be very interesting. When they settle, it will probably benefit Epic. It'll probably still benefit Apple, and then everyone else is still going to get left out in the cold, I think. But we'll see.